Welcome to episode 14 of my weekly episode podcast, potty, whatever you want to call it. The show is called Play Some D, and I am the host, Coach D. Play Some D is, well, first and foremost, please like the video and subscribe and turn on those post notifications. Play Some D is a weekly episode of 4 random, not so random, sports related news, politics, current events, random, whatever. It's kind of just a mix up of what I want to talk about for the week. It is formatted into 4 quarters, 4 topics with a possibility of overtime. Just like a traditional sports game. Well, basketball, football, hockey. I don't what else has quarters? But anyway, basketball and football. It's no innings, 9 innings, or 90 minutes of soccer, or sets like tennis. Anyway, I could go on with the sports and talk and all that good stuff, but it's 4 quarters, 4 topics. Play some D with me, D, Coach D. D and or Coach D, but whatever. This week is it could have been all basketball. Honestly, I didn't want to make it all basketball, but it definitely could have been all basketball. NBA playoffs do start, so obviously we'll talk about that. Hopefully not in too much length, but probably in some length. We'll talk about Russell Westbrook, what's more basketball. We'll talk about Russell Westbrook, Brody's triple-double record, and just triple-doubles in general. We'll speak on J. Cole's impressive week, but mainly another album review for his 6th studio album, I believe it is, the off season. And then we'll talk about 60 Minutes did an article. 60 Minutes had a show Sunday night on UFOs, UAPs. It's what the government calls them. And since 60 Minutes can do something about them, you got it. Coach D is going to do, I don't know how it'll go or what I'll exactly talk about just yet, but that'll come up in 4th quarter. So there's, long ways to go from now. But as I mentioned, to start the show, please like, please subscribe. We'll greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. And let's get into it. First quarter. Let's talk about Russell Westbrook. So Russ broke Oscar Robinson's triple-double record. It was 181, and Russ got 182. Well, now I think it's, what are we at? I think it's 183 or something like that now. I mean, obviously he's gonna keep breaking it, but and then he's averaging 11.7 assists and 11.5 rebounds. He's gonna be the first player since Robertson to average over 11 for a full season. Oscar averaged 12.5 rebounds and 11.4 assists during his 1 triple-double season. This is Russ's 4th triple-double season. And my take on it is, it's incredible. the averaging of triple doubles for 4 seasons. I mean, it was something that was essentially unheard of. You thought probably only LeBron would probably have a shot to do it, but Russ's will to get active is bar none. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people talk about Mike and Kobe's will. I think Russ might have probably the all. I mean, he goes at it every night. I mean, to start the season, he had I don't know if it was torn or not quite healed quad yet, so he wasn't even fully healthy when he started the season, and he was still going as hard as he could. You could see that, and every night he does go out and give it what he has. Now, essentially, what in my opinion he just is lacking is that I think it's really just his jump shot. I think his jump shot really has let him down throughout his years, because that's really the hole, the gaping hole in his game, which in turns caused the triple doubles overall to not really matter. It almost feels like it becomes an irrelevant stat, or not an irrelevant stat, but not irrelevant at all, an overrated stat. A lot of people get triple doubles now, and in honest terms, it's cool. The stat is cool, but it has to translate into wins. And the Wizards are, I'll talk about their playing stuff coming up next here in the second quarter, but they're the 8th seed and they're 4 games under 500 or something like that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think they're 4 games under 500, and winning just has never been. I mean, Russ has won on a marginal level, but Russ he's never really like won, and it is partially due to the will. It's partially due to how great he thinks he is, but they're not measuring or not taking consideration into the holes in his games is causing him not to get to the level he wants to win a championship. I mean, all the greats do, and I think when Kevin was there, was holding him back. Then he got Carmelo and Paul George and Carmelo, however you want to phrase that, and he still didn't really get it. And then he went back to Harden, and he kind of deferred to Harden, but by that time the Rockets had recklessly gotten rid of all of their size, so it was really hard to compete with it was just hard. The Rockets would have probably kept Clint Capella. They would have competed a lot better against the Lakers last year, and could be a different story being told right now, but regardless, he just hasn't won, and the triple doubles just start to look like a selfish personal stat. When he broke the triple double record, it was kind of just a big microcosm because he had the ball for the game to win that game, and he put up an awful 3-point shot that I don't even think he thought was going in, but he took it. And that's just kind of everything in a nutshell on Russ's triple-double career, is that he got the triple-double, broke the record, but he still didn't win that game. And it's not any shade on Russ at all. It's just, it is what it is. I would bet if he sat down and had a private conversation with somebody, he would probably somewhat agree with that. Is that, yeah, I'm working my butt off. I'm getting the triple doubles. I mean, I think the rebounding aspect of basketball is just way different now, because big dudes, I mean, just 10 years ago, big guys just were not letting like guards come in and take the rebounds. Big guys always took power forwards, and centers got rebounds. Guards didn't even really come down there to rebound unless they absolutely had to. But now with the league being so small, it only makes sense that guys that are athletic to come down and try to grab rebounds. Everybody should gang rebounds, because rebounds are very, very important. But, like I said, just as little as 10 years ago, it was no way Tim Duncan was letting Mono take his rebounds. There's no way Shaq was letting Kobe get his rebounds. Mutombo wasn't letting Iverson come down there and get his rebounds. So it's Ben Wallace. Like Ben Wallace was Rasheed, like Chauncey, and I mean Tayshaun Prince could rebound. He wasn't even getting that rebound. So just you think of all the good rebounding bigs like that. If Russ was running with them, they'd be like, dude, these are rebounds. So rebounds is a different type of stat, but he's getting them, so that's good. Assists are tough. Assists, you got to be able to you got to set your teammates up, get them good shots, get them in a good position to make shots. And to get assists, you got to, obviously get, guys got to be open. So that means you have to be good enough to be able to get guys open as well. So, like I say, I think if he sat down, he would say, it kind of is what it is. But it's like I don't even know a really good analogy to it. But it's like a shiny car sitting in the, shiny, expensive car sitting in the driveway, and you really can't drive it that far. You only go down the street and come back. I don't know. That's maybe not a good one, but I think it's amazing how he does it, and he wants to get after it and do whatever it takes to help his team win. But I think it still comes down to, why didn't Shaq work more on his free throws? Why does Rush's jump shot even still look like it does? I just don't know. But if, game's on the line, he's streaky, he could make it just because he has confidence, and he is a world class talent. So he can make the shots. He shot them, but to depend on him is just something you cannot do. And he has not and will not lead your team to a championship. He has to just be a piece of it. And with his hard work, and you get him, obviously you get him in a game 7 to fight. And I like my chances with Russ, but the process of getting you there, you can't depend on him to do it. I mean, he might be able to bring you home, but once again, we never seen that either. He might be able to bring you home, but getting you to get home or getting you to the front door, I don't know. But shout out to him for that record. And I say, I don't think anybody will. Maybe somebody will come along at some point, but he'll keep getting triple doubles, and he'll probably get something well over 200, which is cool. Maybe he'll average it again next season as well. And I love records. I love history. I love when history is broken. I love when records are broken. So it was cool. But like I said, just the end of that game, to watch him take the jump shot and just almost know like it's not going in was just it's just his kind of career in a nutshell. But excellent effort throughout the whole game to keep his team there in the game, and then just not being able to polish it off and get the W. So shout out to Russ for Brody for doing that, and I'll carry it over to talk about him right here in this second quarter for the play-in NBA playoffs starting Tuesday. And yeah, it's interesting with the play-in. So I'll start with the play-in going into the playoffs, and just with my predictions, official predictions here for the NBA playoffs. So they start May 18th, play-in, the playoffs start Saturday, May 22nd. The play-in tournament was good, I think, for one season. I overall think there should be the top 16 teams reseeded, and maybe you have 16 and 17 play a one-game playoff for the 16. Maybe. I don't know, but I do think everything the way the league works now with travel and all that stuff, like, it's whatever. I think 1 through 16 should be how it's seeded, but that won't happen at all. It'll always be East and West. So with that being said, the play-in tournament should not exist. It may be for 8 and 9 to play each other. I might be okay with that, but this, 10, I mean, Charlotte's 33 and 39. and so is the Spurs. They should not be allowed to play in the playoffs, even if they win. They are 6 games under 500. The best teams should have a shot. They played the whole season properly. Boston should not, just because they had injuries, they should not be up against a possible Charlotte team that could beat them because maybe they just came on strong late. That's not necessarily the case. Washington, it is. They were 17 and 32, I think it was their record or something like that, or 17 and 34, something like that. And they closed it out at the end. So they're like, we can tank it at the beginning, catch up at the end just to make the 10th seed and then play in. I don't like that. I think it is silly. I don't agree with LeBron that person should be fired. For this year, it made a little sense with the shortened season and whatnot. So it is what it is for this season, but I do think they need to rework it and make it a little more. It shouldn't be as forgiving as it is for those lesser teams. Now, for the teams in the play-in, Boston, I think, will lose to Washington, which would then have Brooklyn and Washington playing, would be incredible. And then I do think Washington will actually, I think Indiana will then beat Boston. I think Boston will just, I don't know how they beat Indiana. I don't think they're better than Indiana, but that'll be the game. I think Indiana beats Charlotte pretty easily, and then Boston and Indiana. And then whoever plays Philly, it won't matter. Philly's going to crush them. On the West side, obviously is where it gets interesting because I do think Memphis and San Antonio can go either way. Actually, Memphis should win, but I wouldn't be surprised if San Antonio won. I don't think San Antonio could beat Golden State or the Lakers, but one game to lock in on Steph Curry may not be as hard as people think it is, even though he is on a roll right now. But I do think Lakers do beat Golden State to get Phoenix, and then I do think it ended up being Golden State that wins and plays Utah. Now, with all that being said, that makes it very, very interesting here because the last time was that Baron Davis team that beat Utah. I forgot exactly what year that was, but now we had that 8-1 matchup again, with it being a very good possibility. Not very good, but not a very good. I shouldn't say very good. With a possibility of Golden State upsetting them. But Donovan Mitchell should be back, and they have I call them goons. Utah has guys that'll shut you down. So they should handle Golden State and win that. I think the Clippers beat Dallas pretty easily. I think Portland handles Denver pretty easily. And the Lakers and Suns, it really just depends on how healthy LeBron is. But I really don't see in any way, shape, or form the Phoenix Suns beating the LA Lakers with a decently healthy Anthony Davis and LeBron James. So that's that. And then on the East side, to predict that beginning is, I said, Philly. Let's just say Philly and Pacers is what I think it'll be. Philly will win that. The Knicks and Atlanta, I think Atlanta wins that, which will make an interesting Atlanta-Philly matchup. Then Milwaukee handles Miami. That will be tough. And then Brooklyn will beat Washington, probably a sweep. To stay on the East side, that would be Milwaukee and Brooklyn. I think Milwaukee wins that. I do think Philly would beat Atlanta, but I think Atlanta, if Atlanta gets hot, Atlanta could win that. So I'll go out on a limb and say Philly. I'll say Philly wins it, and Philly and Milwaukee. That send Milwaukee to the finals. I don't think Philly is better than Milwaukee unless something happens as far as injuries. This is all keeping people all healthy. So now we have Milwaukee on the finals on the East side. So then we have Utah and the Clippers. I think the Clippers handle Utah. It's 6 or 7, but I do think the Clippers are healthy. They beat Utah. Portland and Lakers would be interesting once again if the Lakers are healthy. it's hard to pick the Lakers, but I do like Portland a whole lot. So if the Lakers are not healthy, I would send Portland all the way to the championship. Now, this is me predicting it. Obviously, I would have the Lakers and the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals for what everybody wanted last year, and I just don't know how it would play out. But the Lakers are the better team, in my opinion. I don't think the Clippers have enough, and they're just kind of disjointed, I feel like, all the time. They're so hit and miss, but if Kawhi cranks it up, flips the switch, or whatever people call it, then you can have a Clippers Bucks finals. I'm very, very comfortable with saying the Bucks win, unless they just the Bucks. I'm very comfortable with the Bucks making it to the finals, unless they just completely choke. So, as far as who would, I don't want to pick that champion right there, right now, because I just have a feeling, just with how the season went, there's injuries and things of that nature, so it kind of just makes it pointless. But let's say Bucks and Lakers finals, and then if it does play out how I say, then I could do another episode with just a whole breakdown, just with a whole breakdown of that finals matchup, which would be interesting. I'm sure more people would love to see Brooklyn and the Lakers. I mean, I would too. Honestly, I would definitely love to see Brooklyn and the Lakers, but I do think Milwaukee is just I think they just, I don't know. Milwaukee and Brooklyn is the series that I want to see in the playoffs. It's really, I mean, that's really the highlight of it. I actually think whoever wins that series probably wins it all, honestly, because if Brooklyn's able to play defense or figure out defense, they have to figure it out in that series, and maybe it carries over all the way through. I don't really know. They're just so bad on defense. I just don't see how they make it. But there's all, history's already made. Just like I talked about in the first quarter, nobody thought anybody would break Oscar's record of triple doubles. Russ did it. Nobody ever thinks somebody playing this bad a defense could make the championship, but Brooklyn can. So, Lakers healthy. I think it's the Lakers. If not, I do think it's Portland. Portland and Milwaukee if the Lakers are not healthy, and then that would be an interesting finals that nobody would probably want to see or nobody would watch. So, probably won't happen, but let's say Lakers and Bucks for the record. NBA playoffs, you gotta love it. Got to love it. So yeah, I didn't go to super in depth in things because I just could be talking all day, and I don't want to be talking all day. Halftime gives a little time to speak on nothing. Yeah. So third quarter is Mr. Jermaine Cole, and he has had one of those weeks where he hopped on the LA Lakers freestyle early on. He'd had a documentary. He then played professional basketball overseas, and he dropped the off season. That is a pretty cool week for anybody, I have to say. Now, album's only 40 minutes long, which I'm still not a fan of that at all. The shortened albums is just not what I like. I think it cheats the fans, so I automatically pop all the albums down a notch when they do that, because I just don't like it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 12 songs are under 3 minutes. I don't like that at all. Yeah. Is any of them? Yeah, 100 Mil. Yeah, 100 Mil is one of the better songs with T- as the producer. It's under 3 minutes. Punching the Clock. There's 3 songs in a row under 3 minutes. Yeah, I don't. So let me not gripe on that, but going through the album, it starts off with Cameron with some Lil Jon samples in there. 295 South is actually pretty good. Amari Timberland's on that. I'm three listens in, so I think it's one of those albums that does get better over time. After Amari is My Life with 21 Savage and Murray. I think that's how you say his name. I hope I don't butcher that. But that's one of the better songs. Or not the best, or one of the top, for me, top 4 songs. Applying Pressure, Punching the Clock, then 100 Mil, which is another one of the good songs. Prada's Devil featuring Lil Baby. T- is the producer on there. That's a solid song. Let Go My Hand with Boss and 6 Lack. Followed by the interlude. The Climb Back is one of the better songs. Close and Hunger on the Hillside featuring Boss. That's just the last song, and that's one of my favorite. Boy Wonder does an amazing job, I think, on that, and Cole really attacks that final track to close out the album. I wanted to recognize at least my stance on greatness in everything. So it's like LeBron and KD in basketball, and Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and you expect certain things out of certain people, and you get a 40-point, or what LeBron did in the finals years ago, where he led every team in all the statistical categories. In that nature, that's what kind of you expect from greatness. You kind of expect Tom Brady to go out there and win. You expect Patrick Mahomes to throw for 300 yards. It's kind of just what you expect from greatness. And then kind of on the music side with like your Jay-Z's, and I put J. Cole and Drake in there. I think I personally, and I do think some people do as well, the expectations are so high for these artists, these people that do it at everything from gaming to sports to music to I wouldn't put actors in that realm at all. There are some really, really great, fantastic actors, but I think they're so much smaller than everybody else. But you do expect greatness, I guess you could say, from Denzel or Anthony Hopkins, and Meryl Streep, and there's a bunch of different. But when you get to that certain level, you have these such high expectations, and I'm kind of the same way with that with J. Cole. I think some people are too. Whether I haven't been really scoured the internet for reviews to see what people think, but it's really hard not to like this. But in my eyes, like I said, under 40 minutes for 12 songs, then a lot of them under 3 minutes. It's a little bit of a cheat, and I do feel like there is another level. I just think it could be better. I've always said that about Drake albums, and even him too, because their first projects were mixtapes, and they were so good. Obviously, they were sampling stuff, and they already had like a soup or a mix to work with, because their mixtapes, it's a little bit easier to be versatile and do different things and not necessarily follow a path. But I don't think Drake has ever matched his work from So Far Gone. I don't think Cole has matched his work from let me not butcher these, but wait. Why can't the Come Up? Yeah. So his first two, the Come Up was good. I wasn't a super duper fan of it, but it was cool. But I listened to it after the warm up, and I thought the warm up was better. The warm up and then Friday Night Lights, I think it's probably unfair to it's a little unfair So that's what again those are mixtapes. But I feel like him and or Drake have not met their work of the beginning. It could probably be the same for 50, but 50 is not in the lyrical category, or I think in the musical category is these guys as well. And then Kendrick, same way. Like when Kendrick drops something, we expect such high level work. When Jay drops something, we expect such high level work. Beyonce, Rihanna, maybe not Rihanna so much, but Beyonce, it's just certain artists, certain people, and there's more. But so that's kind of how my feeling with this. I'm like, man, it could be more. Mind you, he's saying he's giving us 2 more albums before whatever. I mean, I don't think it's his passion. I doubt he ever stops like completely rapping, but maybe he does. But 2 more projects where he can do that, or get better or meet my expectations. But album wise, I've always enjoyed all of his albums. I enjoyed KOD. I enjoyed Born Center. I enjoy Forest Hill Drive. J. Cole's music is great, but I just think there's more in the production side he can give, and that lyrically he's pretty much, he's crispy. But I do think there's once again more. But once again, that might just be me thinking that, and it may not be there. But this is obviously good enough. This is somebody would dream. An average artist would dream to have a project like this. I would imagine this is solid. But I think with great power comes great responsibility, as they say, and he can definitely up it a notch. But overall, I'm 3 listens in. I enjoy it. He speaks on the Puff Daddy situation on here. Damian Lillard clocks in some vocals, which is actually really cool on Punching the Clock. And it's a nice, solid, smooth listen. You could play it in the car, you could play it in the gym. It's very versatile, and it'll be another one. It definitely, I think it. Well, we'll see. I don't like to be too early on it. I'll give the reviews, and then it settles in. And as far as whether it's a classic or where it falls into the discography, it has to take time before that happens. I just think it's unfair to throw it in there. Music isn't a stat line like basketball. Like, oh, that was his best game. Like, you literally see the numbers. You watch the game. You watch performance. You could compare it to other. This is music. This is sonically. You have to digest. You have to listen to it. You have to catch the lyrics. You have to the beats, everything. So it'll take some time, but where it falls in, I do think it's up there with the top of his discography list. So yeah, shout out to Cole. He did his thing on here. He I said he had that. He had a week that some people would die for. So all love, and can't wait to It's a Boy. I believe is the next one, and I'm sure he'll be featured. I'm sure he'll tear somebody's feature up on some song in the near future as well. So that is the off season with J. Cole. Now for 4th quarter is just a little fun for me. It's just fun for me. I don't. So we all call them UFOs, which I found it to be interesting lately. That I've been kind of keeping up with the topic is that the government calls them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. So I watched clips of it last night, and just seeing the looks on these pilots and commanders in their face when they're talking about these objects they see right in front of them disappear and do weird shapes and go this that and the third. And the one guy said, there was something out there that was better than our airplanes. Like, that's all interesting to me, because I mean, ever since I was small, I learned about the planets in the solar system and things of that nature, and you're just like, logically, you're just like, yeah, it's got to be something. I don't know what it is, where it is, how far it is, how it gets to us, but it's got to be something, right? It's got to be something. And then I forgot the class in I'm thinking oceanography, but that sparked it. That was one of them. Oceanography was what's in the ocean, just it's crazy down there, or in there, down there, in there. And then I took a class, like a space, or I don't think it was just about space, but space was included in it, and it just talked about like astrology. I mean, is it astrology? I could be wrong on that. No, astronomy. Astronomy. I took astronomy, and that really is where I think it was in my junior year, and it really took off with the thought process of UFOs. Now, I feel like the night skies in different areas populate a little bit differently, but living in California, when I first moved out to California, it was kind of incredible what you saw in the sky. And I never forget talking to my mom, like, Mom, like, it's crazy, like, it's just, it's stuff in the sky, like, it's stuff that you don't, you see stuff going and moving where you're just like, yeah, I don't know what that is or what that's supposed to be doing, but yeah, something's up with that. But to see the United States, they're going to release this, unclassified, a declassified report from the Director of National Intelligence in the Pentagon to hand over to the Senate Intelligence Committee in June. So with it all being declassified, which, I mean, that's kind of where I kind of fit in with this particular conversation, because I don't know how somebody wouldn't think I'm calling them UAPs from now. That's the government calls them unidentified flying objects. I don't know. I guess it is the same thing, but it just seems so unprofessional, like kiddie or like cartoonish or something. I don't know. But UAP seems a little cooler, a little more. I mean, I guess that's just the government doing their classified, whatever. But they've been seeing this stuff for a while, and it's essentially that transparency and things of that nature just isn't what it is now. Like, people are seeing stuff they can record on their phones, and it's only so long you can hide it. If the government could still hide it, they will hide it, because they don't exactly know what it is. I mean, I'm almost positive they do have some kind of extraterrestrial life somewhere lying around, whether it's actually a big alien body or a little whatever. I don't know. Who knows? They got something, but they don't know what it is. They don't know how to work it or where it came from, all that stuff. So just the questions aren't answered. So why, they said they kept this stuff classified because, it was a threat to national security. And maybe it was. Maybe people would have freaked out. Maybe they would have thought, oh my God, we're not the top of the food chain, or whatever the case may be. But we've all seen the movies. I don't remember what the one was where they just like landed, and then the lady had to go and talk to them and speak their language. I forgot what that one was, but we've all seen the alien movies. Like Mark Wahlberg had one, I think. So the alien movies, how Men in Black, lizard people walking around, all that different stuff. The one piece of the 60 Minutes articles do was like, it sounds wacky and this, that, and the third, and the dude, the former government guy, was like, yeah, I'm not telling you that it doesn't sound wacky, but it's real. And I think that's where it intrigues my mind, because something can sound crazy and something can sound wacky and retarded. And the one lady said too, she's like, well, if I was sitting in the ship by myself flying, I would have came back down and not told anybody. Like, yeah, of course you wouldn't have, because who's gonna believe that? But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean it's not real. So that's where I find it, very intriguing to talk about, and to see what gets released, to see what people come up with outside of the government, what people have outside of the government, and maybe trying to get a grasp on how advanced, because we just don't have the technology to do it. We can't do what these machines do or these devices or whatever do, or get to where they're going as fast as they're going, because who's ever is whatever these objects are coming from somewhere very, very far away that we currently can't get to. So, but just to understand that and have multiple avenues or people or agencies or organizations working towards figuring out just what it is, kind of how they're doing it, and how do you lead down that path to do it. Or if hypothetically it could be in 100,000 years a different type of vessel that comes in and wants to destroy things like the Avengers or something of that nature. Who knows? But just to have an idea of what could possibly be, and maybe how to defend yourself or whatever the case may be. But the one guy says, UFOs are not secret U.S. government technology. And just because he's saying he could say that with a high degree of confidence, he knows how it works. And, obviously the conspiracy theorists and theories and thoughts and rationale will come in with saying, oh, this is the government doing this and the government doing that. And not to say that's not true. And that all could be true. It all could be a hoax or made up. It's unlikely, but, questioning everything you see, especially after it's been hidden from you tried to be hidden from, people for so long, is, you have the right to ask those questions. And as well as, other countries will start, as the race to space continues. That's another reason why you have to declassify information like this too, because eventually China and or Russia or somebody else will get information. They'll be like, we had it first, and the United States like, nah, we had it first. But it's like, nah, you really didn't, because you said that it was over here in this vault and it didn't really happen and it ain't even real. But now you're saying it's real because we, so you can't do that too, especially if you do plan on or want to be on a cutting edge of things of that nature, because Russia's going to blurt it out, especially China. They seem like they're probably going to get ahead on most stuff because they move the needle forward a lot faster than everybody else does. So they may get ahead on pretty much everything. And if they're coming out with reports and facts and things of that nature before the U.S., it could, that also hampers your credibility. So it's just so interesting. And June's next month. I don't know how much, I still think it'll be declassified, but it'll probably be so much redacted and blacked out information that we probably won't even get all the goods. But it's cool to see 60 Minutes had this article or had this article. He's saying article. They had this episode, and it's yeah, I think it's just incredible. I don't know. I think it's incredible because when they do it, when 60 Minutes talk about it, people will listen. So it just lined up with me. I saw it last night. I was like, oh man, I got to talk about this on Play Some D for sure. Nice way to close it out in the fourth quarter. But UAP, UFOs. Man, I was thinking too, like to be up in the sky on that. That would be worth being in the military just to fly up there and see something like that. Like, man, there's a couple people in the world that get to see something like that up close. There's only a few people. I mean, I'm sure, there's always a story of aliens coming to the window and those, if that's real, those people, it's only a few people in the world that get to see all that type of stuff. So, if it doesn't hurt you or kill you or, exterminate you and you could talk about it, I mean, maybe it's traumatizing, but for me, it wouldn't be. It would be so interesting, so cool. But that's fourth quarter. That's Play Some D. This was a good one. This was episode 14. And yeah, the playoffs, Russell, the off season with J. Cole and UAP governments declassifying some information on the stuff we don't know about, stuff that they told us ain't real. So I'm going to check out here and be safe. Enjoy yourselves. And until next time, you know how I do. Holla.